Greyhorn Pagans podcast. Here we discuss all matters paganism, heathenism, witchcraft, history, and mythology. Leave a like, leave something nice in the comments, share this with everyone, and enjoy yourselves on this amazing episode of the Greyhorn Pagans podcast.
Co-host wants the mic right away. My other co-host, FireFae, will be joining us soon, but my guest for today is Miss Sharon Farber, and she does some interesting things that I didn't even know was possible. So, Sharon, thank you so much for coming on, and for those who may not be familiar with you yet, introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Sharon Farber. Thank you so much for inviting me. Pleasure to be here. I'm a medium. I'm an author, mentor, teacher, and I guess what makes me unique amongst the thousands of other mediums is that I chose to become a medium about 13, 14 years ago and took classes, read books, and learned to become a medium, and my niche is teaching mediumship to people who are already mediums, helping them get better, but also beginners are kind of my specialty, and even people who didn't know that they could be mediums, and they always thought, I thought you had to be born that way, or I didn't think you could learn. It's those people I can hold their hand step by step, and I've got an amazing success rate of beginner mediums becoming mediums, taking a 5-hour online class and giving a validated reading by the end of the class.
Wow, that's quick.
Yeah, yep. And the people who take the class, they're small classes, they're limited to 10 people, they often have fewer, and it's usually maybe 70 or 80% are people, well, I've had these experiences, I've done this, but I don't know how to do it intentionally, I want to take it further. But then there's often one or two people who are, I've never done it, I'm beginning, and I'm really excited. And those are the ones where it's really exciting to watch them give their first reading.
The Greyhorn Pagans podcast is proudly sponsored by Shop Reclaim Repurpose and their Nefatafel set. That is Viking chess. A centuries-old 2-player strategy game that is easy to learn, but rich with complexity. The defending player aims to escape the corner with their king, while the attacking player aims to capture the king. Nefatafel is about outwitting your opponent and making strategic decisions based on the board's ever-changing conditions. This portable version of Nefatafel, or Tafel for short, is perfect for history buffs, Viking enthusiasts, or anyone looking for a unique and challenging board game that can be taken on the go. Perfect for the upcoming holidays, of course. And with my code seen on screen now, which will also be in the description box down below, of course, you can get 10% off your purchase on one or more, of course, Tafel sets. Simply go to his website, shopreclaimrepurpose.etsy.com. Use coupon SteinfoxTafel for 10% off your entire purchase. Again, coupon code SteinfoxTafel, or go to the link shown on screen for 10% off. Thank you so much for Shop Reclaim Repurpose for sponsoring us. It means the world. Now let's get back into the show, shall we? Yeah, so I mean that's the thing. My wife, who hopefully should be joining us shortly, and otherwise I can definitely hold my own. But she is a medium as well. She is born with it, although it is a gift that, of course, has developed over the years. She learned how to work with it over the years, because I know at first it was just, everything coming in all at once, no filter whatsoever. And I know, of course, in my circles, people are more spiritually inclined. There are more people with certain gifts. But I never knew that mediumship was one that you could actually learn. Like my assumption was that, you kind of have to be born with it, or born with the power to develop it later on, like my wife did. So how did you find out that it's something that can be taught? Like, was it just like, oh, this sounds interesting, I'm gonna try that? Or
first of all, you're not wrong that it's something we are born with or we have. I just think that everybody has it. That everybody has an innate, unwrapped, undiscovered ability that if they're drawn to it, they can choose to open, unwrap, and develop. So that part about having it kind of works. What happened was that at almost 50, somebody said, hey, want to go to this mediumship demonstration at this house, the next town over? And I said, sure, that sounds interesting. No burning desire to be a medium, nothing like that. I said, I do have 35 years experience as a massage therapist and energy healer. Okay. Little overlap, Reiki, energy healing, little bit of spirit guides, energy, working and feeling things that aren't really there. So there's a little bit of overlap, but not connecting with people and spirit. So I went to this event and she connected with my close friend and my firstborn dog, and she gave brilliant readings to everybody else there, and I went, wow, that's really cool. And I had a massage therapy center at the time with 4 rooms, including 1 big room, and I invited her to come. So for the next year, she came once a month and gave small group mediumship demonstrations at my office, for up to 8 people, and I got to be there, get some of the readings, but mostly see how amazing and healing it was. And then she got too busy and couldn't work there, and I was, wow, I want to do that. So that inspired me. We need more mediums. I want to do that. And everybody said, oh, I don't think you can learn how to do it. And I said, well, find out. And I read books. I took a 3-hour class. I took more classes. And then I got my very first link by practicing on a massage client. I said, I've been studying this. And she said, you can practice on me. And I connected with her dad and got 4 pieces of validated information, one of them really strong, and I was literally jumping up and down, not figuratively, literally jumping up and down, and she thought I was crazy. Not for being a medium, talking to dead people, but for jumping up and down. And then that gave me the, oh my God, I can, let's really do that. And the whole reason I wrote my book is because so many people think what you think or thought until we have this podcast today. I've heard hundreds of times from people say that. I didn't think you could learn it. So the working title of the book that I wrote, the working title was How to Become a Medium When You're Not Born That Way, or Are You? And it was shortened to Choosing to Be a Medium, Experience and Share the Healing Wonder of Spirit Communication. Can I show them the cover?
Yeah, please do.
So wait, there we go.
Yeah.
So there is my book. There's also a companion journal. So I wrote the book because it was really hard to develop as a medium with all these people saying you can't do it if you're not born that way. People who are a 3rd generation medium are going to be better. People who aren't naturally inclined that way are never going to be really good. Just there was a lot of negative PR about the idea that you can become a medium. So I said, well, I'll find out, because I was really compelled to, step by step, learned how to do it. And that's why I want to teach people that they can do it also. It's not something for just people with unique abilities up on a pedestal. Not that everybody who has spontaneous natural abilities acts like they're that way, but I just want to make it accessible for people who want to and know that they can. And my feeling is that if I can do it, you can do it.
Yeah, I mean that's absolutely valid, and it's interesting. Like it's not something you would imagine would be gate kept so heavily. You know, spiritual gatekeeping. I know it's a thing, unfortunately, but I thought spirituality was about exploring yourself and the outer world, as above so below, as within so without, like all that good stuff.
Excuse me, I never heard that expression used in terms of what I'm saying about becoming a medium, but that makes total sense. And if you think of the people, maybe previously, now it's becoming almost mainstream, who were the big names making thousands of dollars, they don't want everybody to be able to do mediumship. They won't be unique and up on their pedestal, kind of like priests of old. I'm the only one that can talk. I will intercede. I can talk to God. They had control and power and didn't want everybody else to be able to talk directly to God. So a little bit like that maybe in the past. I'm thinking of one medium whose name I won't mention, who has a book who talks about his unique abilities, and reading this book won't make you a medium, and this whole idea that he's unique and all that. He's never been to Arthur Findlay College in England, where you have 100 mediums, teachers and students in a building for a week, all developing. It doesn't make you feel very unique.
No, definitely not. But that's I guess to me at least, I'm friends with a lot of people, heathens, witches, a couple of shamans even, or just people who are more spiritually inclined, and everyone always says that it's not something that should be coming from ego. If you're doing it because you think it makes you so great and so unique and all of that, I mean, it's good to have self-confidence. It's good to have confidence in your abilities, and one's practice is not like the others. I mean, I'm friends with many other Germanic heathens, but we all practice in our own way, but that doesn't necessarily make my way or their way better. It makes it different, sure,
exactly,
but not necessarily better. I guess in a way, now that it has become more mainstream, or more mainstream, like more accepted in the mainstream, perhaps, that people have these abilities. I do imagine that some of the early ones, if you will, who thought themselves masters, I mean, I can see the threat of like, oh no, there goes my livelihood. But at the same time, shouldn't you be happy that other people are like learning it as well? Because these are natural gifts. There are multiple levels, multiple dimensions to this, whatever it is that we live on or in, or whatever shape or form it may have. There are different dimensions, so to be able to tap into those, and especially the other side, if you will, the mysterious other side, nobody knows what happens after death, and that's why it's so scary. So if you can, well, at least like have a link to it, shouldn't that make things a whole lot easier? So what you're doing, I think it's great. Yeah, I mean, I'm amazed that it seems no, but it seems also that so many people at a later stage in their lives are now doing it, because like that's also something that you hear so often. Like, if you don't start young, then like by the time you're, I don't know, 30, 40, like it's too late, because it takes so many years to develop. And so what's your take on this? Like, should everyone try and develop these things? Or
some people have no interest. They don't care. They don't believe in it. It's not something we should try to force on people. Okay, let's put it in the public schools. It's not quite like that, but not the opposite extreme. I think most people aren't against it, they just don't know it's possible. And putting it out there for people who are interested, maybe people who go to mediums and spend a lot of money and are grieving people, if they maybe take a class and realize that they can connect with people on the other side. Mediumship is all about healing and bringing love between this side and the other. So the more people who can experience it by receiving a reading, knowing that mediumship exists, and possibly developing it themselves, it brings healing to people. It helps relieve the fear of death, because you know you're not really dead, there's an afterlife. It helps with grieving, because you know that you learn that your spirit people are still alive and well and can be aware of your life and get you messages. So because it's so healing, I think that making it more accessible is a good thing for the planet, for people. But not necessarily everybody, this is your next step. But I think it's kind of like learning an instrument. Some people, like Mozart, have this amazing gift. They're writing symphonies. They're at age 5. They just have this brilliant gift. And then you have people who don't, who decide to play the recorder or the trumpet in elementary school. And they might sound terrible, but people don't say, well, if you're not born with this amazing musical talent, don't join the band. Don't play the trombone. We don't do that. You have to be born that way. You just encourage them to make music. Some of them will continue, some of them won't. But with mediumship, with training, learning how it works, how it's done, it's not magic. It's more like science than magic, really. Step by step learning how to do it, it makes it accessible, and it's still amazing and healing. And if somebody is like, oh my God, this is my life's calling, even if I don't find out until I'm almost 50, and you still go for it. It's not, I don't believe that if you don't spontaneously see dead people when you're a kid or after a near-death experience or anything like that, you can't become a successful, accurate, compassionate, helpful medium.
So do you believe that kids, or most kids, I should say not all of them, of course, have this greater ability, at least, to see things, to connect with things? Because that's something I hear a lot, and that I actually talked about with my wife, I believe. No, with a good friend of ours, actually. I believe, like, just yesterday, that all these different kinds of behaviors, like self-sabotaging behaviors, that they're taught. I mean, I know that my kids, I mean, they're lucky with their parents having being spiritually gifted, but they can definitely see things and notice things that I can't anymore. So do you believe that children, like, they have this innate ability, or is that also something that is, that could be developed over time?
I agree that many children have an innate ability to see spirit and be psychically perspective, and then as they're learned to be logical and rational, and some of it's shut down by parents. Oh, we don't do that, and then you lose it. My kids didn't see spirit people, but I do remember them being a bit psychically perspective. I didn't tell him that, or things would happen. I remember some specific things about that, but they weren't seeing spirit people, but other people's children are. And the old, what do they call them, imaginary friends? Some of them aren't imaginary, they're spirit people. But not everybody. Some people's kids don't have that. But I believe we're more open. We just came more recently from spirit, so we're more connected to the spiritual aspect of ourselves. And before you get your head filled with numbers and letters and logic, it's probably a lot easier.
Yeah. No, I definitely agree with that. I mean, I know that with my parents' generation, my parents were both raised Catholic, but fell off the faith, unfortunately. Also because, they started, this may sound a little cheesy, but they started thinking for themselves and then saw things that didn't like really add up. But I do believe that there is still something left in them, especially with my father. He says he's not religious, but I don't know, like he does go, if you know, things are too much, he'll go on a silent retreat to a monastery. So that's,
Whoa.
and
Wow.
like he will talk to whatever he thinks is out there, and especially with the passing of my younger brother a few years ago, didn't manage to fight off his own demons, so to speak, so he stepped out prematurely.
My goodness, I'm so sorry. Does your wife hear from him?
She does, actually, she does, and it's a little weird, but she is able to channel him as well, so that in a way I can still talk to my brother, but through my wife, which feels very, very odd in a way, and I don't think it's something that I'll ever really get used to. But it does make me wish that my parents could too. But like that's the difficulty. They don't believe in it.
You know, you could learn to do this. You could come take one of my 5-hour online classes, free, complimentary, hop in and discover for yourself, if you're interested, if you're like, I would be open to doing that, you could come and do that. And you would see how I teach people, and you would be taught also, and there's a really good chance you would connect with a spirit person for someone else in the class.
I would quite like that. Although that,
You don't have to decide now. You can just
No,
think about that.
I'll discuss it with my my wife as well. I mean, two mediums in the same household, maybe a bit much.
It would be fine. It doesn't mean you're going to become a professional and hang up a shingle and compete. It would just be opening up so that you could see what it's like and have a direct connection to some people in spirit. Think about it if you want.
I
pressure.
will. I'll think about it. Thank you for the offer. But I mean, I do have a question that is, I know, many people, it seems like more and more people do get diagnosed with things like ADHD and autism, and that they have trouble with sensory overload. As a starting medium, how do you put up those boundaries? Because I know that my wife, who unfortunately is preoccupied by family, of course, that sometimes everyone is just wanting to talk to her at the same time, and she gets this just huge sensory overload by people who aren't here and that only she can hear. So how do you put up those boundaries? Because I know that would be beneficial for myself as well. I mean, I got a chaotic mind.
I have excellent boundaries. So personally, I connect with spirit people when I want to, when I'm giving a reading, doing a demonstration, teaching a class or a circle, and I use my intention to connect with spirit people. Connect with them when I'm done, I don't. So I don't personally have that feeling of being bombarded by spirit people. However, I've had hundreds of students who are. And what you do is need to create and maintain strong boundaries. And you can start by doing that with embodied people. The people, I don't know your wife and she's not here, but generally the people who have a challenging time with spirit people in their face, in the supermarket, wherever, hey, will you do this, are generally the same people who have trouble with boundaries with embodied people, like friends or family who suck their energy. Help me do this. Will you do that? Will you do that? And you have trouble saying no. You might have an hour of your time you were going to take for yourself, but somebody's like, I need you. Will you listen to me whine for the next hour instead? And they say yes. So I have found a correlation between letting embodied people take too much of your energy that's not in the healthiest way. Yes, we want to be empathic, compassionate, supportive people. So I'm not saying it's all about me and don't bother me, but sometimes it's not healthy. So there's the correlation between boundaries. So you start off, if that's true for somebody. Usually when I ask people to say, well, I'm better than I was, and we'll talk about how they've improved. So you start saying no to embodied people. No, sorry, can't. I'm busy. Even if busy means you're going to take care of yourself. So you say no, and then it's exactly the same with spirit people. You decide when you want to connect to spirit people, when you're open, and if you're not, you say no in your mind with your intention. You can ask your spirit team to help. Hey.
That's my wife joining, so.
Yeah, let me just finish the thought, guys.
Of course,
so
of course.
You set the boundaries and you decide when you're open or not. And if this is your private time with somebody or you meditating and somebody like spirit's there, it's like, no. And you have to mean it. A lot of people are afraid to say no because they think if they say no to a connection from a spirit person, that means that they'll lose the ability and they'll never be able to connect with anybody again. Or people think that they're obligated to. If a spirit comes through and wants them to connect with them, they're somehow, because they can, they're obligated to do this. So people, mediums, are never obligated to connect with spirit people. So the quick answer, even though it already hasn't been quick, is you learn to say no, and you use your intention, strengthen your boundaries, and then you choose when to connect with people in the spirit world. And it's a matter of saying no. One more quick analogy. Most of us don't let strangers walk into our house at any time. Most people, if you're driving a car and you stop at a red light, you're not going to let a strange person open the door and climb into your car.
No.
So don't do that energetically with spirit people. Don't let people that aren't your close loved ones, your spirit guides, people you have, like the people, your best friend, your mom, where you give them a key to your house, you're welcome to come in any time. So you can let it be that your loved ones are welcome anytime. And then just put it out there. I'm not saying that it's easy, and it might take step by step, but people don't even know that they can say no and be in control of their ability, their control when they want to connect with spirit people. Does that answer the question?
Yeah, it does. Yeah, no.
Sorry, I'm dealing with Stein's brother right now. Sorry, guys. I need to mute myself because he's laughing at.
No, it's fine. We were actually, well, you haven't seen or heard this yet, of course, but we were actually just talking about that, how Dawa will come through to you.
Yes, he definitely comes through, and it's like there was the other day. He came in and I was doing my makeup and he came in like a wrecking ball and I didn't even get a chance to say no.
Well, then cut him off and say no.
It's kind of hard with his baby brother. It is so hard to cut him off and say no.
If he was an embodied person and a living obnoxious, I'm not saying obnoxious. If he's somebody who's not being respectful of what you're doing and barging in, you say no. Not right now. We can talk later. I'll be with you later. Just claim your space. You don't have to be open.
Well, he doesn't barge in to talk to me. He barges in to talk to Stein.
Same thing. You're the messenger. You're the medium, and it's still, you have the right to say, we can talk to him later. Take control and responsibility and say, no, this isn't the time. I'm doing something else now. He'll be back. He's not going to be offended and never come back.
I mean, he is stubborn, like
and he starts sulking. It's like, oh,
it's nice to meet you, even though I can't see you.
There's privacy reasons. I'm sorry.
So we weren't planning on being able to see her.
No. I mean, that's why she goes by a screen name, and it's why she keeps her cam off.
That's okay. I don't need to see you. But,
so she's a voice in the void.
If you're comfortable with the way it is and being at his whim, then
I mean,
continue.
he doesn't really come through unless he has something he has to tell Stein.
They have no sense of time there.
That's where it's like, dude, I'm trying to sleep and your brother's asleep. I don't care. It's like, dude.
It's all about you being in your power and deciding when you want to do this.
But it's just kind of funny when I tell him no, because then he goes and sulks and says to, because I do astral travel sometimes, he'll go to the kids and be like, your Auntie Faye is so mean to me. And it's like, Auntie? Who's Auntie? So he just, I don't even know how to describe your brother at this point, hon.
I mean, I never knew even when he was here, so, you know.
I mean, he gets so upset over the littlest of things when I say no.
I mean, that was him in life as well, you know. He has a very high standard.
Interesting.
Well, and it's interesting too because, like, with my granddaddy, he'll come and visit when I say not right now. He's got the hint, and then when Stein brother comes to visit, and I say not right now, my grandfather's like, she told you not right now, dude.
Do you have good boundaries with embodied people? Like if friends or relatives or people you work with want your attention and space and it's not good for you, then?
I work with kids, so that's kind of a hard thing to say yes to.
But even with friends and family, hon.
Depends on who it is.
Well, maybe if you want to. If this is bothersome or invasive and you want to, practice saying no to friends and family and try saying no to Stein's brother with a little more meaning it. See what happens.
Ooh, he doesn't want to see that side of me.
What's that?
Fox knows, or Stein knows that I'm a redhead, so I'm just like, ooh, that's gonna be interesting.
Well, anyway.
I'll try it. Sorry, didn't mean to be off this topic.
That's okay. It's only if you want to. If the dynamics feed you and you enjoy them on some level or it works, then...
It's just kind of funny because, like, I didn't really know him in life because he was socially awkward like I am. And now that he's on the other side, it's like I see a whole nother side of him. And I talked to Stein about it, and he's like, yep, that was my brother.
That's how mediumship works. It's pretty cool.
Exhausting, though.
I bet.
Sorry, Heidi, what were you saying?
It doesn't have to be exhausting. If you decide when you want to work, when you don't want to work, professionally or otherwise, it's not exhausting. It doesn't have to be. My belief.
I wanted to ask, since, you know, on the other sides, or, you know, through the dimensions, there are so many different beings. I have had some experiences, but I didn't treat it as seriously as I should have, perhaps. But are there any experiences that were less than pleasant, let's say? Because I know I've had some that, that are still... that I do still remember, and that I was like, oh, I should have taken this so much more seriously. And I can imagine as a medium, a lot more comes through.
Actually, it's been 13 years or so of extensive immersion in mediumship with thousands of interactions, classes, circles, demonstrations, training. I have never had an unpleasant experience with a spirit person. I haven't experienced anything scary. My students, my teachers, my peers, we believe that I don't know about all my students. It's not like they're clones and they're going to believe everything I believe. I believe that the spirit world is safe and all my experiences have been positive. I never tell people that their experience, of fear, terror, whatever happened to them didn't happen. I don't gaslight people and say, I don't believe that happened to you. sometimes I offer different interpretations of what people are experiencing, and that fear and experiences are real, but it's possible that they're caused by that they're not caused by actual people or other entities in spirit. So that's my answer. No, I haven't had anything scary or unpleasant.
Well, then you're very fortunate, because that seems to be like kind of going back a little to the spiritual gatekeeping. That is also often how you'll see it portrayed in more popular media. You know, the most famous example, of course, being The Sixth Sense. You know, I see dead people, and you know, being all scary. I've actually little confession, I've actually never seen it.
I thought that was a great movie. That was a long time
You need to watch it, honey, because then you'll understand what it's like to be a medium.
I know, it's been almost 33 years
people.
And I haven't seen it yet.
For some.
For some people.
But I'm just saying, like, that really opened my eyes and made me realize that it's okay not to be, as society says, normal.
I think that people's background, anxiety, fear, exposure to religion, exposure to possibly hundreds or more horror movies, culture, and ghost stories create, and some of the hype and fear mongering from mediums and television and all that create fear and will lead to people attributing scary things to people in spirit. I don't even believe in ghosts. I believe in energetic imprints. I believe in residual energy. I believe that humans can fling energy into negative experiences and build up energy like that. But I don't believe in ghosts. I don't believe in attachments. I don't believe that a spirit entity is going to cling on to you and be responsible for your depression or addiction or anything like that. And I can give alternate explanations that people may or may not resonate for these different things. So that's my belief. I don't expect other people to just believe that everything I believe is the way it is. People have their own concepts, but what I do in my work as a teacher and mentor often is addressing people's fears and maybe telling them when they were a kid and the spirit person was on the edge of their bed and they were terrified, that maybe that was their grandfather coming to visit them and they were terrified because they didn't know why there was a man on their bed.
Oh, that actually, it sounds very juxtaposed, you know, a medium but doesn't believe in ghosts. That's
exactly. I believe in spirit people. The idea, spirit people are people, my belief is everybody physically dies, you go to the spirit world. And you don't get stuck, you're not in between. Take your own life and you don't go into hell or get thrown right back in. Obviously you know that. They're still in the spirit world. And there's a bunch of reasons why people think there are ghosts. For example, people think there are ghosts because they don't know they have mediumistic abilities. Someone dies and then they see them or hear them and they're like, oh my God, they're a ghost. They're stuck here. Somebody help them get to the light. Because maybe they didn't know that they had some innate sensitivity they weren't aware about, and that people can be in the spirit world and still be seen and heard. So it's an interpretation, oh my God, they're a ghost. And I can go on and on.
Oh. I never looked at it that way. Oh, that actually makes a lot of sense. And that also would explain why the so-called ghost hunters and whatever, we're friends with a few of them, why they seem to, with every hunt, although it's really not the right terminology for it, because you're not
it's
hunting
them. More of like finding spookies.
Sure, but with every exploration, let's say, I think that's a better one. That they find more, they hear more, they see more, because they are attuning themselves to it. Oh, that.
And if I might add, people in the spirit world can affect things in our world. They can make lights go on and off, or put the vacuum cleaner on, or make the TV stop, or otherwise make themselves known. But the interpretation is, yes, they're in the spirit world, but they can play with energy. They can harness our energy, and especially if there's juvenile adolescence with all that chaos and ridiculous hormone and energy, they might have experiences more with them because spirit people can channel that energy. The distinction I make is that doesn't mean that a spirit person is trapped here, stuck here on the earth. I'm saying that they can make things move and happen here that can be experienced, but they're happily ensconced in the spirit world. They're in the spirit world. They're not ghosts. They're not trapped. They're not haunting something. They just use our energy and their own intention to make themselves known.
Oh, wow. That shatters a lot of the imagery that I had. But it makes a lot of sense, actually, since they are, well, at that point, they're purely energetic beings because, the physical body is no longer. It makes sense that they can, tap into other energies or attach themselves to it. Huh. The more you know, the more you learn. So you already gave an example of, someone seeing their grandfather at the foot of the bed. Like, that made me think about night terrors and what's the terminology for that again?
Sleep paralysis. Sleep paralysis.
Exactly,
I do have
yes.
a theory behind that one that's interesting with the night terrors.
I'm here with two mediums, so I would love to hear from you both.
Basically, I have a family member who has told me about it, and I've looked into it. Night terrors are basically your body's way of remembering a past life. And you're still so young and innocent, and that's why when you're younger, you get them, if that makes sense. That's what I was told.
That makes sense, or could make sense.
So, Sharon, then what is your interpretation? Do you have a interpretation?
Sure. For me, night terrors would be basically nightmares. Your world's scary. We process things. My daughter and I used to have nightmares together from different rooms when she was little. I would have a nightmare and then I would hear her yelling, or I didn't even know which came first, but sometimes we would have simultaneous nightmares. It wasn't clinical night terrors. It wasn't every night, but that was kind of interesting. Sleep paralysis, I go totally with the medical clinical view. People ask that question, not directly to me so much as I'm in a Facebook group that I created called Mediumship and Mediums with 27,000 people, and a lot of people, that'll come up in other places. I believe that night terrors are totally a medical thing. And what I do is I put a link to WebMD or the Mayo Clinic or something that I consider really realistic anyway, and it's a sleep disorder. You're not asleep, you're not quite awake, and then they describe the actual feelings that you feel like there's somebody on your chest, and people sometimes think it's demons and scary things like that. In the clinical medical diagnosis, they describe that people interpret it that way, but how it's a sleep disorder. So I totally personally discount that it has anything to do with demons or scary spirits, and I see it as a medical issue. That's my thoughts on sleep paralysis.
I can imagine that if you're in, let's say, in the stage between sleep and being awake, like your body does paralyze in a way when you're asleep, but that's, more so to prevent you from like moving and waking yourself up or
injuring yourself.
Yeah, and so also, of course, so that you can get like the deep sleep and the deep rest, because your body needs it. So I can imagine that if you're semi-conscious but your body is in full literal sleep paralysis, and you can't move.
Sounds terrifying to me.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that sounds like a living nightmare. Yeah, that'd be scary for everyone. Doesn't matter your age.
We used to be terrified when there were comets or an eclipse of the moon because they were terrifying and we didn't know about astronomy. So if somebody doesn't know that sleep paralysis is a thing and this happens to them, it makes sense that somebody might go elsewhere in their thoughts.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, taught behavior, learned behavior, and of course what you pick up from, books and TV and popular media and all of that. I mean, ghost stories, they sell. They sell really good, and I mean, it's not for nothing that I believe the number one type of podcast is true crime podcast, because it's exciting and you can like link it to ghost stories. But yeah, I can see that, and yeah, it really comes down to the fear of the unknown, and that's why I am, so happy, and that my wife is a medium, and that I can talk and have contact with mediums like yourself, because it makes the great unknown a little less unknown. It helps me understand, it helps our audience understand, and I just hope that I can, for everyone, the bit of the ripple effect, that I can like make it a little less unknown, just one view, one listen at a time. But although I do...
Well, you also have a gift too, honey. You're also my anchor in this world, and your brother is my anchor on the other side too, especially with the line of work that I'm getting myself into.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. You really chose that work because of your gift, right? You finished.
Well,
actually,
I looked into it and I was just like, let me see what this is about. And as I was reading about what it entails, I was like, this is me. And then I sent it to you and I wanted your thoughts on it. And the more you read about it, you're like, oh my gosh, that is you.
I mean, if you have the gift of mediumship anyway, then, a death doula, it's...
Oh.
I mean...
Is that your next, what you're working towards now?
So I just graduated recently, so I'm a sacred passage doula. I can't say I'm certified because I don't have the true certificate, so I just say I am. And then I'm also a death coach.
Congratulations, that's wonderful.
Thank you.
That's amazing.
And I do help souls cross. One of our friends, a mutual friend between me and Stein, I helped her grandmother and then I helped her grandfather. And I realized with her grandfather, he was a lot more easier to help because he missed her grandmother so much. So he was easier.
With Micah. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I helped her through hers, and I was able to connect her to her grandmother, and she was pleasantly surprised. So, I mean, it's hard work. I mean, especially as a medium, it's very hard work, but I don't regret it.
Excellent.
Because as our oldest says, I help give birth to a soul rather than give birth to a life.
Yeah, that's exactly what you do.
As a medium, yeah, that helps put it in perspective of what I do.
I guess a final question that I'm quite curious about. When did you, or why did you decide to start teaching? Because the first medium that I know of that actually teaches people to develop their gifts. I mean, I've heard from FireFae, of course, that you can develop it, and you are already sensitive to it and all. But I never thought I could actually find a teacher.
I've had dozens of teachers. There's a college in England called the Arthur Findlay College where they have some of the best teachers in the world. They're having some issues at the college right now, which hopefully they'll work out. But you have dozens of amazing teachers, and I've had great teachers. The reason I teach is because I'm kind of a natural born teacher, so I chose to develop as a medium. The teaching part of me is natural. I've taught massage, energy healing, watercolors. When I do something, I'm inclined to teach it. And with the mediumship, I had so much backlash about, oh, you can't learn, I didn't think you could, you'll never be any good. So I chose to learn anyway. I've been successful, so my job is to help other people and let them know, if you want to do this, you can too. And my students blow my mind. My beginner students in class, I lead online circles, and they are constantly blowing my mind because in their first readings and in their first weeks or months, they get so much evidence, they just do so much better than I was able to do when I was starting 13 years ago without somebody holding my hand and saying, I know you can do this. So it was natural for me to want people to have the support and confidence that I didn't have. So I do my best to provide it to them.
So, that's great. Like, and that's also, it's such a good way to show the doubters. To just like, oh, you said I couldn't? Well, I am, and I'm teaching it.
Well, it wasn't as much as I'll show you. It was like, I guess I'll find out. I'll just do the work and see. It wasn't trying to prove it to anybody. I just wanted to prove it to myself. And then when I could, it was like, oh my God, I can. Let's really, really focus on this. I never try to prove. I have people who know me, trust me, know I'm honest, and still have had trouble wrapping their mind around the idea of mediumship. And I don't try to convince them because it's not my job. My job is to bring love and healing between the side and the other. And by training literally hundreds of mediums, I'm going to bring more healing, love, and connection to the world because the hundreds of mediums can give readings to hundreds. So I'm affecting thousands of people who are getting healing, closure, peace, and beautiful experiences because I'm helping develop a huge crop of new mediums. Or taking mediums who have abilities and do it, but they are uncomfortable, they have fears, they're worried about boundaries, they have all these different concerns about it, and helping them come to terms with taking control of their mediumship, deciding when to do it, having boundaries and ethics, things they might not have thought about, so that they can do it in a comfortable way that's not exhausting, disturbing, or disruptive to their regular life. So I just try to help.
Amazing. How do you do your readings? Because FireFae, like you like to take your cards. One of how many ever decks you have by now, I lost count. Like you sent me like the decks we could use for the solstice ritual that we did yesterday. I was like, oh, I have to choose between all of those. So Sharon, like, do you do your readings with any tools, or do you just get into a certain mindset, step into a certain energy, or does it just flow?
No tools. I've dabbled with oracle cards and tarot cards for the past 40 years or so, a little bit. Never professionally. Mother Peace tarot cards, when I was in my 20s and 30s, they were mind-blowing. So I have had some experience with cards, but I don't integrate them or use cards or anything else. I don't want to hold objects. I don't want information. I don't want names or anything else. It's intention. I set up the reading, tell the person what to expect. I do probably 98% of them on Zoom, so I can see people all over the world as opposed to my little town. Tell them what to expect, tell them to respond with yes, no, maybe, I understand, and then I take my intention and go into a slightly altered state, and then I connect with their loved ones in spirit and tell them about them and messages if they have them. I choose not to use tools, and the way I teach, we don't use tools either. No pictures, no cards, just kind of a straightforward mediumship without props. But that doesn't mean that mediums can't integrate it however they want. Some people do mediumship while they're doing healings. Some people mix psychic readings and mediumship together. And I don't tell people how to do it. I just teach, here's the mediumship component. Evidential mediumship, connecting with loved ones, getting evidence, showing that the people are there doing this in a positive, healing way. And then people can put it together however they want to.
Okay. So you could say a very pure way of reading.
That was the word in my head, but I specifically didn't say it because if I said that I'm a purist and do it that way, that would sound judgmental, that people who were using cards or something else weren't doing it that way. And I don't want, it's not like my way is the better way or the pure way. It's just kind of the straightforward, no tools. This is the ability, and that's how I chose to do it. And that's how I teach people to do it, and then they can decide if they want to integrate it and use other sources. I don't want my students to be dependent on cards or objects or other things. Teach them the basics. This is how you do it. This is what you need, which is somebody who wants a reading, who has people in spirit that they'll be able to recognize, and how to prepare themselves, use their intention, do it, and then they can do what they want with that information and fashion their own mediumistic adventures and experiences and offerings.
Okay.
Sounds like you need to take one of her classes, hon.
She already offered me, so.
Complimentary.
Yeah.
Online. That's
You definitely
funny.
need to, because I honestly think you would be quite surprised at what you'd find within yourself.
Were you around when I made the offer to him?
No, ma'am, I was not.
That's cool.
I mean, great minds
He's
think
gonna
alike.
think about
I
it.
guess.
Just I'm thinking, like, the things that you've already dealt with me, with my medium stuff, and how you're able to help me with mine, and you're able to kind of understand the other side. I think you might have more of a gift than you realize. You may not have the seeing and hearing part, but you might have one of them.
He can develop any of them, but the funny thing is when I offered, he said he had to discuss it with you. And like, what if, I don't know, 2 mediums in the family? I said, not a problem.
Well, our oldest is starting to show signs of being a medium, so you're going to have 3. And if we include our daughter, there's another one. We don't know about the youngest yet.
How many? You have 3?
Our daughter definitely has a gift. It's just like kind of looking from the sidelines to see what her gift actually is and how it'll develop. But she definitely has a gift, undeniably. Our oldest, I mean, hon, he's like you. He's like his mother. So
did you
of course
tell
he has
Miss Sharon what he did with Timmy?
No, I completely forgot about that. That's a good one. Now that you mention it, he has a strong natural ability. I live in a fairly small town, just average sized town, and
Where?
in the Netherlands, in the Flower Bulb region.
Okay, I was trying to decide. You sound like okay, I thought it might be somewhere around there. I mean, I know you're not from here. But good to know. Netherlands, small town. Sorry to interrupt.
No, that's fine. And I got 2 cats. I got Big Red, or Timmy, who is here
3
on the
if
desk.
you count mine, honey.
Yeah, okay, but living here, I have 2. And then all the others. A Torty, Celine, who is upstairs, I think, making herself comfortable. And whenever I go outside, whenever I go like out for groceries or whatever, I will have either one or both of them following me. And especially Timmy, like if it's like not too busy and too scary with all the traffic and the people and all of that, like if he could, he would follow me into the grocery store. Like, he'd literally go grocery shopping with me. And there was one day last summer where I did my things, got my groceries and all, and I went home. And, of course, in the evening, I just wanted to chill at home, watch a good series or movie with the wifey. And I prefer to have the cats in. I couldn't find them for the life of me. I looked at all the regular spots where, they usually hang out. Know them by now. Sorry to say this, Tim, but you're predictable. Talking back right away. Okay, I see how it is. And so FireFae asked our son's help in try and channel through me to see if you can find his kitties, or see the environment. And it was so incredibly specific, because here in the Netherlands we don't have a lot of the big trucks driving around like you'll have in the United States. We just don't have the space, we don't have the roads for those. But for some reason, what he saw was a big red truck, a Ford. Did he mention a
Ford Raptor?
Did he mention that specifically?
He said a Ford Raptor.
Yeah, and
it had black on it too. He even said it had black.
Yeah, and lo and behold, where Timmy has probably spent most of the time, kind of wondering about, trying to figure out where I went, what was parked there? A Ford Raptor, a red Ford Raptor with some black streaks on the side. And I, me in my Dutch mind, I was like, a Ford Raptor, just a big SUV in the Netherlands, in a Flower Bowl region? You know how small the roads here are? No. And then I saw it, I showed FireFae.
You turned the corner and it was right in front of your face.
Yeah. I showed FireFae and I was like, well, tell the kiddo I said, sorry, you're 100% right, because there it is.
Well, and then
you found the cats. And you found Timmy.
Yeah.
And then we couldn't find Celine, and so I was just like, hey, dude, can you see if you can spot where the little girl is? She's usually, pretty near home. Do you sense where she's at? And he's like, Mom, she's near water and she's crying for Stein.
Yep, and she was.
And lo and behold, he went by the water where he last left her, and she was just sitting there crying.
Yeah, she was walking around looking for me, kind of crying, like, hey, I don't know where I am. I'm just a small kitty. Help, please. And there was a bigger body of water there. So even from still a distance through his mother, our oldest was able to.
But hang on a second.
To find and channel.
I could be wrong, but I don't think he was doing this through his mother. I don't think it has anything to do with.
Well, and what was interesting is he was touching my arm and touching my forehead, my third eye. So that's how I know he was channeling through me.
Okay,
and I didn't even tell him what to do. I just said, I need you to look for these kitties, and that's when he did that. I was like, okay, you're in my bubble.
I bet he could do that without using your energy. I bet he was just doing that, and you were helping him focus, maybe. But I could be wrong. I bet next time, just ask him. Say, okay, where can you do that again? Can you find this or that? And let him do it and see what happens. Just a thought.
And I think he'll succeed. I honestly think.
Well, there was one time that I actually did, because I was actually out with my community client for school, and Stein asked me to ask the oldest for help, and which we should ask him about the paperwork, by the way.
Yeah.
So I did it again, and I messaged him through my mom's phone, and he's like, Mom, they're where they were before. And so I told Stein, and Lord and behold, they were right there. So he's done it without me around. He's a lot stronger than he gives himself credit for. I mean, he even loves my tarot and my oracle cards.
How old is he?
He's 15.
Cool.
And then our daughter is 9.
Going on 30.
In No, she'll be turning 10 in April, and even as a wee lass, as a little girl, she was definitely seeing things. I don't know what she saw, but she saw more than she could explain. And with our youngest, my boy, 6 years old, he's like his dad, a little rough around the edges, but I'm sure there is some sort of a gift in him as well. And it would absolutely not surprise me if his older sister is gonna end up being his teacher, because they're so close. They're just, yeah, they're best buds. So yeah, we're gonna have a medium family at this point. Well, that should be interesting. But Sharon, I guess I talked it over with the wife. And I would love to join you in one of your classes. I'm very, very curious to see how it'll develop and how it'll be.
Excellent. Well, I have some on my website. You can check it out.
Yeah. Han, did you have any questions?
I guess Timmy wants to involve himself in the classes too.
He's off to his comfy spot. So he's like, okay, I'm done. I'm cool. I know what I need to know.
How can I help my 15-year-old? Because with me, it just developed naturally because my mom allowed it to just flow. How can I encourage him to keep embracing his gift rather than being afraid of it or keeping it hidden?
Talk to him about how it's natural, how you do it, how it's healing, how there's nothing to be scared about. But the part about keeping it hidden, it might not be something he wants to share with the other 15-year-olds because that might not go over well. So it's not like he necessarily has to come out and share it with peers because that could be uncomfortable. And he can use it naturally, but it's sometimes better for people to develop without focusing on their abilities at the age of 15 as an adolescent. It's a sensitivity, and you increase your sensitivity, and there's enough to deal with for adolescents dealing with people and bullies and everything without being different, without focusing on your sensitivity. And so you have it, so you don't want to shut it down, but you also don't need to thoroughly embrace it. I want to really rev this up and focus on that. Let him be a 15, 16, 7, let him be a normal kid and just, this is something special. And unless he's really excited, like, I want to do this now, and then you support him in that. But there's something to be said to having mundane, a non...
I think he's more scared of it, to be honest, because back when Stein and I first started seeing each other, he had an experience with a dark entity, and it scared him. And he couldn't sleep in his own room for a while because it scared him so bad.
Okay, well, definitely address the fear part. We're like way over our hour, so I'm not going to really go into this in depth. I don't believe there are dark entities. I don't believe in demons and scary things. I feel like it's all perception. My guess, I'm not there, I don't know him, is that something happened where he felt and experienced something that triggered fear based on what I said before. It could be based on Hollywood fear-mongering and not understanding what happened. My gut feeling, because I don't believe in dark entities, is that he didn't have an experience with a dark entity. He had an experience, could be spiritual, could be with somebody that he interpreted and triggered his fear. I'm not saying it didn't.
It could be the trickster spirit that we have around the property. That makes sense.
So support him as best you can in understanding that it's a special ability and that there's nothing to fear. Nobody in spirit is going to get him, take him over, ruin his life. Anybody in spirit has no power over us. So basically, try to get him to understand that he's safe.
Okay, I'll talk to him when he gets home tonight.
And that he has a special ability that can be amazing, but he doesn't have to don't hide it. Don't make it seem like this is a deep, dark family secret and don't let anybody know. But he's 15. He's going to know that some people might not be supportive of that. So you don't just tell everybody, and just proceed and enjoy it and find the cats and use it in other ways that is productive. And if he's really excited about it, help him develop in a safe way. Meaning with understanding, with support. You don't want him to get, well, I don't know what you want or don't want, but the risk of being completely psychic open is if you start being aware or perceiving tragic events before they have, or picking up on drama and trauma, that can be difficult to process and be scary. So just take it slow. Let him have his 15-year-old pursuits and have this as a beautiful ability to nurture as he goes along, but not necessarily take steps to make this front and center part of his life. Does that make sense, FireFae?
It does. Thank you.
Sure.
Awesome. Well, I think this is a very good point to wrap up the show. Sharon, thank you very much for coming on. I've learned a lot. Thank you for your viewpoints as well. They definitely differ from what I've seen so far, giving me a lot of things to think about, and I would love to join you for your class. And
you're in the Netherlands. I think you're like 6-7 hours later than us. It's 1:26 here.
7:26. So yeah, 6 hours.
6 hours.
That makes about sense. Yeah, it's usually around 6 hours.
Okay, so my daytime class would be evening for you. I'm sure you can pop into one.
Yeah. I mean, I'm always up way too late anyway. So,
okay.
And for everyone else interested in your book and in your classes, where might they go to?
SharonFarber.net is my website. SharonFarber.net. You can order the book. You can get the book on Amazon or Barnes & Noble. Anywhere books are sold, you can get that in multiple countries. Book, here's again, this is what the book looks like. I also have a companion journal. If you're really focused on developing, it has prompts and you can track your readings and your discoveries and all that.
Oh, yeah.
So you go to my website, it'll have a mentorship page. I have 3 online mediumship development circles per week. I have 2 trance mediumship circles. I'm currently writing a book about trance mediumship that'll also be published by Llewellyn. And I have a couple retreats planned for the spring. One's in the Blue Ridge Mountains, a long weekend mediumship development retreat, and I just sorted one out in a place called the Himalayan Institute in the Poconos for a little later in the spring. I'll have that on my website probably before this airs, whenever that is. I'm hoping to have that on my website within a week. But that's just reach me. I'm available for mentorship, one-on-one private sessions on Zoom, anywhere, readings, and like that.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. I'll make sure that all the important links are up in the description down below, of course.
Great. Thank you.
Awesome that your books are published by Llewellyn. By the way, that's a really good publisher.
Thank you. I had a lot of help. It wasn't...
I kind of fangirled when I saw that. I'm not gonna lie.
Thank you. Thank you. Llewellyn's amazing. And the last book took forever, and getting an agent and a publisher, and the one I'm writing now, I talked to my agent, she talked to them, sure, get us a proposal. And it was just like boom, boom, boom. And now I'm writing for hours and hours and hours to get it done.
That's amazing. That's really cool. Yeah, thanks again for joining. Honey, thank you for coming on to co-host this one with me. Of course, I have to have another medium with me when I'm talking to a medium. And I guess thank you to your internet connection for finally being stable enough to last throughout the show.
Woohoo!
Well, thanks to the other side for letting it happen. It was actually them.
Well, hey, thanks to all who helped, I guess.
Well, thank you for having me here.
Yeah, of course.
And the great questions.
It's my pleasure. I love doing this, and I have over the years become more proficient at it. Just like with the mediumship, it was trial and error, and eventually I kind of know what I'm doing. So.
Oh, good.
And for everyone watching, for everyone listening, also thank you so much. Don't forget to leave a like on the video, leave something nice in the comments. Maybe some of your ghost adventures, or what are your thoughts on all of this? We are all very curious to know. Check out Witchy Whispers. You really choose the easiest names, don't you, darling?
You love me.
I do. Check out Witchy Whispers, the wifey, her brand for everything witchy.
Witchy Whispers.
Yeah, everything witchy, wispy, all of that. It's been a day. And for everything that we do with the Tribe of the Greyhorn Pagans and the Greyhorn Pagans podcast, go to our website, www.greyhornpagans.com, where you can find everything from the podcast to books that we have published, that our friends have published, roundtable shows, our sponsor, of course. I'll edit the whole sponsorship in between somewhere if I can find a moment. And
happy Yule from us too.
Yeah. Happy solstice, happy Yules, Merry Christmas, happy holidays, whatever it is that you celebrate around the time of recording. Have a happy one. That's an order. And yeah, go to the website www.greyhornpagans.com, and if you're surfing, go to sharonfarber.net. Yeah, thank you all so much, and until next time. Bye-bye.
This was yet another amazing episode of the Greyhorn Pagans podcast. We thank you all for watching. We thank you all for listening. Remember to like, share, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you will be notified whenever we upload something new. Support us on Patreon for early access and for everything else that we do with the tribe, for everything else that we do with the podcast. Find us on www